use my hotspot because I think his will run out.
Okay. Then let me. Which one is yours?
Shall I share screen for the prayers?
Yeah.
I see Geshe Sherab is frozen.
I was wondering the same thing.
Geshe-la, can you hear us?
Oh,
And
it's
he's
gone.
gone.
He's gone. Scared him away.
Like last time, in the last moment. So, good evening, and everyone, and welcome back, and thank you for joining. So maybe we can take a few moments to generate a wish to be benefit to as much benefit to sentient beings, all sentient beings. And for that, the wish to achieve fully awakened state as quick as possible. Okay, then we do the refuge and bodhicitta. Oh, do we take? I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye chodang zoge chonam la changju pado dane kya lagi joshe ge be sonam ge dola penje sangye dupara. So we started the 7-point mind training last week, and among the 7 points, we finished the first point. That is the preliminary of the main practice of the thought transformation. So second point of the 7 point is the training in the actual the main and the actual thought transformation. That is the training in the bodhicitta. And then when we talk about bodhicitta, then, you know, there is a ultimate bodhicitta and there is conventional bodhicitta. And sequences, you know, sometimes, and like in many teachings, like Lamrim, the conventional bodhicitta come first, and ultimate bodhicitta, the wisdom, come later. Here, the wisdom or the ultimate bodhicitta is presented first, and conventional bodhicitta is presented later. And also, you see two different presentations, the sequences, and in different scriptures, you know. And it could be, you know, because among the bodhisattvas, you know, those sharp faculty bodhisattvas, first they have a realization of the wisdom realizing in emptiness, and then they develop the conventional bodhicitta later. Whereas the bodhisattvas who are less sharp faculty, first they have the conventional bodhicitta, and then later they develop the wisdom realizing in emptiness. So among the bodhisattvas, you know, which one they first realize, you know, it could be different. Whether for sharp faculty bodhisattvas, in order to develop a wish to achieve enlightenment, first they want to know, they analyze whether enlightenment is possible or not. What is enlightenment? What is nirvana? And whether it's possible or not. Only when they understand what nirvana is, what enlightenment is, and that enlightenment is possible, then they really develop the wish to achieve the bodhicitta. And that, so they develop the wisdom first, the emptiness first, and then conventional bodhicitta later. So, you know, this could be more following that sequences. But some other bodhisattvas who are not so sharp faculty, then first they have the bodhicitta, and then with the bodhicitta mind, then they do from merit, and with the support of those merit, then they are able to have a realization of emptiness, you know, and that then realization of emptiness come later. So here the presentation is and when we call about ultimate bodhicitta, you know, if we want to be precise, then is the wisdom realizing emptiness directly that is being supported by the conventional bodhicitta. That is what we call ultimate bodhicitta. If we want to be very precise, it is the wisdom realizing emptiness that is being supported by the conventional bodhicitta. But if we take it more general, then we can say, you know, and wisdom realizing emptiness, that is conventional bodhicitta. So that is ultimate bodhicitta. Because even though Arhat has the wisdom realizing emptiness directly, but we didn't call that as ultimate bodhicitta because it is not supported by the conventional bodhicitta. And so to be an ultimate bodhicitta, that wisdom has to be supported by the conventional bodhicitta. So just to kind of give a little bit informations, you know, on what ultimate bodhicitta, because we are going to talk, is presented that here. And so then in terms of training and meditating on ultimate bodhicitta, then as I mentioned, yeah, here then that in the second point, then it is training in ultimate bodhicitta and conventional bodhicitta. And so first, ultimate bodhicitta. So that is training. So then it starts having gained stability, receive the secret teachings, you know. So of course, in order to have a special insight, in order to develop a special insight, the penetrating wisdom that realizes emptiness, that special insight, one need to have a strong foundation of meditative concentration and mental stability. So that is why here was having gain a stability, mental stability, or karma abiding shamatha, and then in order to develop special insight, then first one need to receive the teaching, secret teaching here, and teaching on emptiness. And then once you have received the teachings, then you try to apply in your practice and meditations. And then in terms of meditation, then how to meditate, how to meditate. And so then it comes next, consider all phenomena as a dream. And so when we train in the wisdom or ultimate bodhicitta, we can talk here. It is presented in a two, during the meditations sessions and during the post, how to train during the post meditation sessions. Okay, how to meditate or how to practice, how to train during the meditation sessions and during the post meditation sessions. And then first it is presented how to practice or meditate during the meditation sessions. And when we start meditations on emptiness, for example, here, again, like any meditations, again, as we already mentioned during the last sessions, refuge, bodhicitta, 7 limbs, and then, short guru yoga, if possible. And then in order to make your mind more stable for the meditation, then doing a 21 breath, to quiet your mind, so your mind become more clear and more present. And so we use the technique of watching the breath, inhaling, exhaling 21 times, so your mind can settle down, so your mind can be more quiet, more stable, and more clear. And so then we can use that for meditation. So after that, then consider all the phenomena as dream. So that means all the external things or phenomena, whether it is the environment, or the sentient beings that live in environment, or all other objects in that environment, trying to see them all as a like a dream. So what it means is all the objects of our mind, all the external object of our mind, whether it is object of our attachment, whether it is object of our anger, whether it is object of fear, whether it is object of our frustrations, whether it is object of our impatience, whatever that is, whether it is a person's, whether it is a person's behavior in itself, whatever that, when those emotions arises by coming in contact with those objects, if we analyze, there's appearance of that object, whatever that object that is giving rise to whatever emotions that we just spoke, whether it's impatience, frustration, anger, attachment, anxiety, worry, whatever, that object appear to our mind as real, as true, truly existing from its own, objectively from its own side. There's that appearance. And not only there's that appearance, then just as there's appearance, then our mind believes that the appearance and grasp or apprehend as it appear, and therefore we grasp or apprehend the object, whatever that object, to be so real. And because of that, then that gives rise to that emotion, whatever that emotion is. But that appearance as a real, truly existing, objectively existing on its own side, is that appearance appear because of our mistaken mind. That is not the reality. That is not the reality of object. If that is not the reality of object, why does it appear to us that way? Because of our mistaken mind. Because of our mistaken mind, it appeared to us that way. And so therefore, all these objects, understanding, seeing and understanding, are like a dream, the appearance in the dream, you know. In the dream, there's appearance, someone is killing me, chasing me, but it's just an appearance. That is not the reality. There is no really someone chasing me or trying to kill me, but it is just due to certain conditions, you know, whatever that conditions, then there is that appearance in the dream. But in the dream, it feels so real. In the dream, it feels so real. But that is not a reality. And it is just an appearance in your appearance of dream. Similarly, then if we understand, if we recognize all these objects of our negative emotions, disturbing emotions, if we can see and understand, they are just like it is just like an appearance of the dream. And it is not it's just appearance due to our ignorance, due to our mistaken mind, but that is not the true and reality. Once you realize that it's not a reality, then we don't get so caught up. Then we don't have the strong clinging and grasping. And if we don't have that strong clinging and grasping, then those emotions does not arise, or it doesn't arise as strongly as it is, you know. And so, therefore, yeah. So that is the meaning of. And then second one, next one, examine the nature of unborn awareness. The next is, you know, not only the external objects and phenomena are not truly existence, but even the mind itself, the consciousness itself, even the awareness itself that precedes the external objects. The subject that precedes the object, even that itself is empty of truly existence. And so now, seeing not only the object, but even the subjects. And if we try to look, what is the nature of the subject? Because, we think, oh, the object, we might think the object is not truly existing, but what about the subjects? The subject itself, the mind itself, the consciousness itself, because it's so powerful, the mind is so powerful, then we might think the mind is absolute. Even though objects of the mind, the external objects are not absolute, but the mind could be absolute because it's so powerful. So again, then trying to, if we analyze and examine the very nature of the mind itself, the awareness, the mind or consciousness, whatever you call it, if you analyze, if you examine that itself, even that is empty of absolute inherent existence, truly existence. If you try to analyze, caution. Normally we don't caution, but trying to caution, what is the nature of mind? What is that mind? The subject. What is that mind? Where is that mind? You analyze on more that kind of analysis, does it have a shape, color, size? Then we realize that consciousness, the awareness, the mind, it does not have any shape, it does not have any color, it does not have any size, neither is there is a beginning where we can say it was born at this time, it was started from here. We can find and say, if we see, where does it abide now? Does it abide in our brain? Does it abide in our eyes, nose, each organs? Then you can't find. There's no, at the very beginning, there's no being produced. In the middle, there's no being abiding. At the end, there's nothing to be ceased. The mind cannot be ceased. And then unceasing. So no beginning, no end, no abiding. And then then you begin to see, there's when you try to see the nature of mind, there's nothing something you can hold on and cling on. Not only there is no external object to cling on when you do that analyze, but there is not even the mind, subject itself also cannot be found where we can cling on and grasp on. And once we have that understanding, realization, then our clinging, grasping to mind become less. Also, another way of analyzing, when you try to analyze the nature of mind, of course, when we talk about the mind, we are talking about a big subject. But if we take any particular mind, let's say, one consciousness, one particular specific consciousness, let's say, the sixth mind, mental consciousness. And even within the mental consciousness, there can be gross level of mental consciousness, subtle level of mental consciousness, more subtle level of mental consciousness. And we can even think about more subtle level of mental consciousness, even if we take about that one example. Even that, what is that? What is the nature of that mind? Is the even that mind has many qualities or features or characteristic of that mind. There is the quality or feature or characteristic of not being color, not being shape, not having a size, not being a material or matter, not being a form, not being something you can touch, track. And then there is also the qualities or character feature of clarity and awareness. So when we talk about that clear light, that more subtle mind, is that quality of non-mind, non-shape, is that mind? Is the quality of non-color, is that that mind? Is the quality of not being a form, is that mind? Or is the qualities of within that mind, the qualities of not being able to abstract or not being able to touch, is that mind? Is this the quality of the clarity, that mind? Is this the awareness or the knowing that mind? Again, if we do that, neither of each of those qualities is that mind. Those all are part of that quality, different qualities or feature of that mind, and none of each of those quality or features that the more subtle mind itself. And even if we come to certain kind of, feeling like, the quality of awareness itself, or maybe the quality of clarity itself is the one that is that mind. First of all, it can't be, because just by itself, it cannot be mind, because it is just clarity itself or just awareness itself. It doesn't have all other qualities. And without all other qualities, that can't be that complete mind of that more subtle mind. It's incomplete. It doesn't function because it doesn't have other qualities that it need to have. And so there, it can't be that. But even if we feel, still you feel, that clarity qualities, or the quality of the clarity in that mind, or awareness or knowing quality could be that mind. Even that is a continuity of many, even that mind is many continuity. Even in one millisecond, there is many continuity of that. The first is made of many moments. First moment is past. Later moment is to come. The only moment is the present. The present moment, the moment is say it's gone. So then there is no, you cannot kind of pinpoint and then say, oh, this clarity quality or awareness quality, even that one, is that moment, first moment, or is it second moment, is it third moment? You can't. And even with each those moments, it's still there is many, many small moments. And when you do that kind of analysis, then you come to understand, realize, oh, we cannot really pinpoint and grasp and hold on that, saying this particular qualities or is that. And so through that, then we understand and recognize even the mind, even the consciousness itself is empty of inherent existence, empty of absolute existence. And so that is meditating on the emptiness of the mind, the awareness. After meditating on the emptiness of the external objects, the object of the mind. And then next, the remedy itself is released in its own place. Then we might think, what about the remedy itself, the emptiness itself, or the wisdom realizing emptiness itself? Maybe that might be the absolute, The object of the mind is not absolute. As we analyze, we begin to realize the object of our mind, as I mentioned, all the objects of our different minds, object of our anger, object of our attachment, the object of our frustration, impatience, the object of our anxiety, worry, all of them, when we analyze, then we see they are not absolute. That. But then we think, oh, maybe even though the object is not absolute, maybe the consciousness itself, those emotion itself, or the consciousness itself might be absolute. And when you look in the very nature of that awareness, that mind itself, then we realize also that it's not absolute, it is empty of absolute existence. They do not exist absolutely. So then, now we think the object is not absolute, and also the subject, the mind is not absolute, but because emptiness is the key remedy to overcome that, all the delusion, maybe emptiness is absolute, Or the wisdom realizing emptiness is absolute. Again, if we try to also look in the very nature of the wisdom realizing emptiness itself, or emptiness itself, also, emptiness itself is empty of absolute. The wisdom realizing emptiness is also empty of absolute, or absolute, or truly existent, or inherently existent. If we try to look in the very nature, let's say the emptiness of the Zoom, Where is that emptiness? Is it inside the Zoom, outside Zoom? Can it exist by itself without depending on the Zoom? If there is no Zoom, there is no emptiness of Zoom. So therefore it's not absolute. It's very dependent on the objects. Whatever emptiness it is, that emptiness cannot exist or sustain without depending on that objects. So it's very much dependent on that object. So the emptiness of zoom is very much dependent on the zoom. If there is no zoom, we cannot talk about the emptiness of zoom. And therefore, it can't be absolute, dependent, inherent existence. So even the emptiness itself is, empty of absolute or truly existence. And once you realize that, then we don't get even attached to the emptiness itself. When we realize that, we don't get even attached to the wisdom realizing emptiness itself. And the point is to let go of any attachment to any object, let go of any clinging and grasping to any object, whether his object is good or bad, but not having any clinging to any objects. Not only not having clinging to the samsara, but not even having a clinging to the nirvana. Not only not having a clinging and grasping to the problem itself, but even not having any clinging grasping to the solution itself, the remedy itself. Once we started to have clinging and grasping to the solution itself, then solution itself become problem again later. And we can see with a lot of our experiences, For example, sometimes there is a problem in our life or in the world, and we want to solve the problem, and we see some solutions. And so then we try to apply the solutions. And to a certain degree, we are able to solve problem to some degree, but then we started to get attached to the solutions. And then later, the solution is becoming a problem. Because now we are not, when we see some problem with that, we are not willing to let it go and try to change it because we are so attached to that. Because sometimes some solutions, is required a certain time, and then after a certain time, there is no more solutions and it has to be changed. But then when we're clinging, grasping, attached, then we don't want to let it go. And so then we don't want any changes. And then later, which was remedy solution before become a problem. A lot of time it happens. For example, sometimes, let's say we see some kind of, we're against, we want to see peace, and we're against people who are violent. And so we try to engage in we engage into activities to reduce and to overcome that kind of violent act. And by contributing, by engaging, we might be able to kind of reduce the tensions, reduce the violence to a certain level. But if we get attached to our ideas, then after some time we become very angry. And now we become the problem. We become the problem because now there's so much anger in me. So much anger, so much hatred. Now it becomes a problem. not solutions. Now it become a problem. Once I started with so much anger and hatred, now it become problem. So, and the reason is because I'm so attached to this idea of sudden peace. And that is because I have so much clinging, grasping, and attached to that. So therefore, even though we should be inspired and need to engage into to bring more peace, but still we shouldn't be attached to it. If we become attached to it, it can become a problem. Also, that is the same why religious become a problem when it become a problem. When we get attached to our spiritual path, our religions, then that is when it becomes a problem. No. Mm. Mm. So that is why the remedy itself. So another way of looking at that verse is in the first two, when we think of emptiness of the object, the emptiness of the subject, the mind itself, and when we see both our body and mind is empty, then maybe we might think, oh, if it's empty, if our body and mind is empty, and if everything is empty, then there is no function of law of cause and effect. That kind of thought could arise. If everything is empty, then there can't be, law of cause and effect. If you engage in a good deed, it leads to happiness. If you engage in a misdeed, it leads to sufferings. So then maybe we think there's none of that. Then we think there is no, whatever you do, there's no harm or benefit. When that kind of thought arises, then we try to analyze the very nature of the mind itself, the remedy itself, whether it's the emptiness or whether it's the wisdom realizing emptiness. And once we try to analyze in that, while we see the empty, when we really understand the true nature of the remedy, the mind, the objects, while they are empty, at the same time we see there's a functioning of law and cause and effect. So then there is no contradictions to that when we really understand. While it's empty, there's the functioning of law of cause and effect. While there's a law of cause and effect, functioning law of cause and effect, at the same time it's empty. So then you begin to see both appearance and the empty. And then by being able to see that, then we don't fall into one of the extreme, either of the extreme view. One is nihilism, that thing there's no functioning of law of cause and effect. That is one nihilism. Then the other one is that there is absolute existence. So then we are free from that because we don't have any clinging to grasping of truly or absolute existence. So then we don't have a strong clinging and grasping. Because we see there is functional law of cause and effect, we will not ignore our behavior, our actions, because we know there's consequences of our actions, consequences of our behavior. So, And so then the remedy itself is released in its own way. Place your meditation, the next one, place your meditation on the nature of the foundation of all, the essence of the path. So, until that, we try to do the analyze. So when we talk about meditations, there are two types of meditation: analytical meditation and placement meditations. Okay. Analytical meditation, we do a lot of analytical, a lot of examinations. What is the nature of the objects? What is the nature of the mind? What is the nature of the remedy, the emptiness itself, or the wisdom realizing emptiness? So we do that kind of examination, analysis to come to better understanding of the true nature of those objects, of those phenomena. So that is analytical, to come to that help to come to a more correct, deeper understanding of what the nature of all of those different phenomena. And once having done that analysis, and through analysis, once we have some experience, some understanding, some experience of what is the nature of self, what is the nature of our mind, what is the nature of all the phenomena. Once we have that some experience with that, through that analysis, then we try to remain in meditation without analysis, without any more analysis. Through meditations, analyzing, you come to certain conclusions. Okay? Once you come to that conclusions, then you try to remain in that without thinking, without thoughts, without any more analyzing, but just trying to keep your mind fully being aware of that, fully being aware of that nature, and resting and remaining in that state of mind. So that is here, so one way of seeing that is, one way of looking at it, when it says, place your meditation on nature of the foundation of all, the essence of the path, foundation of all, or the basis of all. And sometimes it is called alaya. And that term is understood by different tenets by differently. Normally, the mind-only schools has this concept of eight consciousness, and then the eight consciousness is alaya, the mind basis of all, or foundation of all. And that is supposed to be very, in their presentations, it's very, the most kind of subtle and free from all the the mind is neutral by its own nature. And so anyway, but I think in other schools, there's like Madhyamika, the middle way school, there's no concept of 8 consciousness. There is concept of only 6 consciousness. So within that, and especially in Tantra, then within the 6 consciousness, mental consciousness, then we speak about, gross mind, subtle mind, and most subtle mind. And the most subtle mind, the clear light mind, is the most subtle mind. And that is the basis of all, or foundation of all, that most subtle mind. Also, sometimes you find the emptiness is also used as a term for basis of all. It's not the mind, but foundation of all, basis of all. Because it's the emptiness. If you understand emptiness, there's nirvana. If you don't understand emptiness, then it's the samsara. Both nirvana and samsara come from the emptiness. The emptiness, the basis of that. Understanding emptiness lead to the samsara. Not understanding emptiness lead to the samsara. So both samsara and nirvana come from the emptiness in that way. And so therefore sometimes the emptiness is also use the term, the foundation of all, basis of all. And then especially in Tantra, the most clear light mind is used because, again, it's the basis. Our clear light mind and not being able to utilize it lead us to samsara, and then the Buddha's enlightenment, they are able to utilize that clear light mind, and that is where they achieve the enlightenment. And so again, similarly like emptiness, because on the basis everything comes from that clear light mind. Samsara come from that clear light mind, as well as the nirvana come from that clear light mind. And it is the basis of all. So here, if possible, then we try to meditate on emptiness in that clear light mind without, and if you are able to meditate with that clear mind, then of course, because it's so subtle mind, it's easy to have a direct realization of emptiness quickly, because there's no more gross mind when we have access to that clear light mind. And without the gross mind, there's no distractions. And the mind itself is naturally is almost like empty. And so it's easy to understand, easy to do that. But to be able to utilize that to that meditation, you need to have some understanding of that before through analytical meditations. But of course, here in our case, ordinary cases, when we don't have access to a clear light mind, then what we try to do is, first we do the analytical meditations, and we come to certain understanding, certain conclusions, certain certainty. And once we come to that certainty, that conclusions, then we try to remain in that without any more analytical, totally resting in that, or being aware of that state, that emptiness state, resting in that emptiness state, meditating on that emptiness state without any more thought, any other thought, without any thought of grasping, also without any thought of I am meditating, without any thought of emptiness itself, without any thought, as though the water has been poured in the water, trying to remain one with the emptiness, without thinking, oh, it is I'm there and I'm meditating, or it is emptiness that I'm meditating, without any kind of those thoughts, without any concept, without any thought, without any concept. just like water being water, food in water is becoming inseparable oneness. So becoming one with the emptiness, and then trying to remain that as much as possible. And once we try to kind of remain in that that state of emptiness, when our mind started to become more weak and not strong, there's no strong intensity, alertness, then again, or mind is starting to get distracted, then again we do the analytical meditation. Again, we go back, and again we go to the analytical meditations. Through analytical meditation, again we come to certain conclusions, certain certainty. Once we reach to that conclusion and certainty, again we try to remain in that state without any kind of thought analysis, but with intensity, with the alertness. And so that is how we try to do. So that is the here. And then that is during the meditations. So how to practice during the post meditations, when you are not in meditation session, when you are not on the cushions, when we engage in our daily activities. And so there it says, in the meditation break, be a creator of illusions. So once you come out of that meditation, sessions, so then of course we have to live our life. We have to cook, we have to wash, we have to clean, maybe we need to go to job. There are so many chores we need to do, just to take care of. So while we are doing whatever we are doing during post meditation, whether we are cooking, preparing for the cooking, eating, washing, driving, walking, whatever, during that, then we try to bring whatever experience we have in that meditations, not losing that experience, that awareness, and trying to bring that awareness into that. And then, with that awareness, so then being aware, even when, as we are preparing for cooking, being aware, the food that I'm trying to prepare is also not inherently or absolutely existence. Even though it appeared to me that inherently absolute existence, but they are not in their reality, they are not real inherently existing or truly existent. They are like illusions. Reminding ourselves, the person I who is trying to prepare, who is trying to cook, even though it appears as a truly inherently, even that me is not inherently truly existent, and that appearance like illusions. And so that we bring that in everything that we do. While we are walking, we try to bring that, or driving the road or the path that we are walking or driving, that itself is like illusions. The car itself is like illusion. The person who is walking, the me who is walking, is like an illusion. And again, as we are trying to eat, the act of eating is like illusions. The food or drink itself is like illusion. The person who is eating and drinking is like illusions. As we go to bed, the bed itself like an illusion, and I who is going to sleep is like illusions. The act of sleeping itself is the illusions, like illusions. And same thing, if any emotions arises, any feeling arises, any sensation arises throughout our day, sometimes maybe frustrations, sometimes peaceful, sometimes anger, sometimes compassion, sometimes being very patient, sometimes become very impatient. Whatever different experiences, whatever different emotions, that might arise throughout the day. When they arises, reminding ourselves, oh, this is like illusions. It's not as real as it appeared to me, you know. So because it is not so as real as it appeared to me, but it's more like an illusion, therefore, even if it's a good experience, I shouldn't cling on that. I shouldn't be attached to it. And even if it is a bad experience, I shouldn't cling on that. I shouldn't have any aversion to it because it's not so real. It appears to be. It's just like illusions, you know. Whatever different experiences that we experience the dream, when we wake up, neither we get so much attached to them, neither we get so much aversion to that, because we realize they are just a dream, not real. And same thing, you know, reminding ourselves, you know, all those different emotions, different experiences that might arises, that might come about, manifest throughout the day, being aware of those different emotions, at the same time, learning not to cling and grasp on them. By understanding they are like an illusion, they are like a dream. So instead, you know, without that any clinging and grasping, let it fall by itself, you know. It comes and goes, comes and goes. And so that is the how to train the wisdom, or the part of the wisdom on the emptiness, not only during the meditation, but when you are not in deep meditation session, but when you are post-meditation also. So when we do that, then it helps each other. Because of meditation session, we have some awareness, some experience. And because of that awareness, that experience, then it is easy to apply during the post meditations. And because we keep on applying that during the post meditation, when you go back to meditation sessions, it's easy. Your mind is already there. So post meditation help meditation sessions, and meditation session help post meditation. And through that, then our practice become more stronger and stronger. At the moment, we try to meditate. When we meditate very strongly, and during the post meditation, we completely let it go, and you know, we don't try to apply that. And then when you try to do next meditation, again, it is kind of almost like starting from the very beginning. The post meditation didn't help. During the post meditation, it didn't help our meditation. Instead, it became a distractions. But if we apply during the post meditation, then not only it doesn't become a distraction, it becomes helpful for our meditation session when we go to meditation. And so that is in some of the commentaries, teachings, and some of the teachers says sometimes post meditations, what we do in post meditation is more important than what we do in meditations. You know, in order to have a strong result from our meditations, in order to have a strong result, effective result from our meditation, is more important what we do during the post meditations, even more than the meditations, you know. And so therefore, that is why in all these teachings, they always come with two kind of outline. What to do during the meditation session and what to do during the post-meditation sessions always. And because of the importance of that. So do you have any questions? So with that, it seems like we
Geshe, your voice is really breaking a lot.
finish the emptiness, the wisdom. Any questions? Any comment? Problem in the internet here? Because where I'm staying here, there is no internet, and we're trying to get, but we have tried. They came and they couldn't fix it, and so we are using a phone data, and that speed sometimes I think but we are still trying to fix with the internet because the house where I'm staying, there is no internet at the moment, and we're trying to get, and we yesterday someone came and then they thought they will be able to fix it, but then once they came here, they couldn't figure it out, and so they will be coming again later. So sorry about that.
Most of the time it's okay, Geshe. Only like some few periods your voice broke a bit.
So that is part of the emptiness. so that you can see, there is a break in that, and each of those breaks is not that sentence, only the continuity of all these breaks, continuity make one, So if you try to find, is this break, that words, that sentence, each of them is not. So it's a teaching on emptiness, just like the bell, they said the bell, sound of the bell is to remind you the emptiness, and so I think maybe this breaking down of that.
It's a contaminated connection.
Yeah.
So actually, Geshe, I have a follow-up question on the question
please.
that I had last week. If you remember, last week, you had mentioned that delusions are the very root of karma. And then you explained very well that basically every karma, because of delusion, is contaminated. Every karma we produce is contaminated. And it's only when you reach an understanding of emptiness that your karma may be uncontaminated. Now, my question and my clarification is, when we recite the dedication for the Vajrasattva practice, and we say in emptiness, there is no I, there is no creator of negative karma, there is no action of creative karma. My question is, why just then negative karma? So in emptiness, do we create positive karma or we create no karma?
Yeah, in emptiness, there's no positive karma, there's no negative karma. In emptiness, there's no negative karma to be created, there's no positive karma to be created. In emptiness, there's no result of negative karma to be experienced, there's no result of positive karma to be experienced in emptiness. But of course, while there is no, in emptiness, there is no delusion, and there is no negative karma, there is no negative karma to be created, there is no negative karma to be purified. But on conventional level, because there is negative karma, therefore we have to purify it. But in emptiness, definitely, that is why in Heart Sutra, there says, in emptiness, there is no form, feeling, discrimination, compositional factor, and all phenomena, So in emptiness, there is no in emptiness, there's no samsara, there's no nirvana. There's no delusions and there is no path, remedy. But relatively, conventionally, there is that. And so therefore, we still have to deal with that.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Geshe Sherab,
Yes, please.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, yes, please, Sherry.
Thank you so much. I'm one of those Dharma interested people over many, many years. And yet, would you agree, that's why it's so wonderful to be able to hear you and see you. Would you agree that the entire vocabulary of Buddhist Dharma have conceptual meanings? Because if they didn't have any meanings, how would all these wonderful Dharma
Hello? Is this breaking your place or my place?
No, she's actually on mute now. Sherry, you became muted. Well, now she's gone.
She's still there.
Yeah, now she's back. Yes.
I don't know whether she lost connections. Maybe while she's trying to maybe join. Hello, Sherry, can you hear? Maybe if anyone has other questions.
Krishna, I just wanted to ask, in the post meditation where we say, to remind ourselves to look at things like an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that for me right now, that doesn't have much force. And I go through like the whole, like almost analytical meditation to remind myself that, even though I see my pen, that seems so separate and existing, by itself, that actually a lot of causes had to come together. It has parts, and most importantly, that I have designated it as a pen. And without contribution from my side, I cannot really say anything about anything. So it's like, I almost feel like I have to go through that whole thought process, to remind myself, like, because saying like an illusion doesn't really make me realize that things depend on my side as much as there is anything out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I think in order to have a better understanding of feeling about all phenomena being like an illusion, like a dream, and whatever different example, like a ego, all of that, to really make kind of sense of that and really feel about that, first we need to have the good understanding of emptiness through the analytical meditations. And once we have that good understanding and good feeling, strong feeling of, then we can see, because it's not so, even though it appears so real to us, but it's not real when we do analyze. Then we can say, oh, it is like a dream, it's like an illusion. Then it started to make sense and you can feel about it. And so if you doesn't feel at the moment, then you do the analytical meditations,
Okay, thank you.
And so then I think it's better to do the analytical meditations and then come to that conclusions. And once you come to conclusions, even though it appeared to me as true and real, but that is not how real, that is not how the reality of that object is. So therefore, it is more like illusions. And so with that, then maybe then the appearance and the way the mode of reality doesn't concord, you know, they are not same. And so then when you use that example, illusion or dream, then I think maybe it make more sense and maybe more feeling. So if we don't feel that way, then you can continue to do the analytical meditations, you know, even during the post meditations.
Thank you.
So Sherry, can you hear? Hello? Okay, doesn't matter. Any other? Maybe she is having some problem.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Amy.
A problem that I feel that I have sometimes is when I do that, the analytical meditation, they do not fall into nihilism. In that regard. It's not that I totally feel there's nothing there. You know, I don't totally go into it, but I immediately think, well, what about the car that's going to hit me? You know, I am almost always, when I do that meditation, I have to, I'm presented with that. And how to work with that.
So do you feel like, did you say you feel like going toward nihilism?
Well, I feel like when I do the analytical meditation and I come to, that it is illusion, then always is presented to my mind, the car is not an illusion, but it is an illusion. So it's that fight.
Oh, car, you're driving car.
The car that would hit me, yeah, that I would, or the bicycle, or the whatever, or me.
There is a difference between like an illusion and being illusions. In our most of the teachings, if you see, it is like a dream, like a illusions, like an ego. And so that is different from being illusions. And so when we say is like illusions, what it means is illusions, there is a difference between the appearance and the fact or reality, okay? Because it is something not there, but because of an illusion, then something appears, you know? And so similarly, that is what we think. It's not saying there's no car, but it's no inherently car.
Geshe, I understand that, but I can't, but in the process, it immediately comes up. You know what I'm saying? Intellectually, I understand that, but
then why don't you do same meditation, same kind of analytical on the car itself? What is car? Is the wheel the car, or is the body the car? Is the engine the car? And is the shape within the engine? You can break each of them. What is the car? You know. And
that's very
car
helpful.
is just merely imputed on the basis of all these parts coming together, and then we. But neither each of them is a car. But when it appeared to us, before we do that kind of analysis, it appeared the car from itself as a car. Doesn't appear that car is merely imputed by our mind.
Yeah.
So maybe instead of doing that meditation on you, if that is being a problem, you do on that car. Same analytical for the car.
I see. Thank you. Yeah, it's helpful. What you said, I can feel it.
Yeah. So once, if you keep on doing that sometime, then maybe you wouldn't feel that same way what you are feeling now, you know, and it is like that, you know, even though, you know, the engine is not car, we all kind of accept and agree the engine is not a car, is the engine of the car and is not a car. But
Right.
when the car of the engine is, when the engine is very strong, normally we say car is strong or car is powerful. This car is powerful because the engine is powerful. And
Yeah.
that is what we conventionally, in conventional world, we engage in that way. You know, that's how we communicate in our conventional world. And that is why, as Chandrakirti says, all these phenomena exist by known to the world, or by in known. That is how it is known in our world, because, you know, even though my hand is not me, but when I hit with my hand, normally I will say I hit it, or someone will say he hit it. But even though it is not me, and that is our, in conventional world, that is how we correspond and how we engage. But in reality, this hand is not me. And same way with the car, same thing, you know. So if we do some kind of analysis, you know, with a car, then all of them are not the way we do analyze to ourselves, trying to find where is me, where is I. You try to find where is the car within the parts of each of parts of those cars that make car. And so then maybe that might make a difference.
That's helpful.
So you can
Thank
try
you.
that. Yeah. So, okay, here.
I can feel when you say that I have to work a lot with that. Yeah.
Can
Thank
see
you.
and maybe you can report next time.
Oh, I don't want to do that.
How it goes.
Okay, yeah.
So here is the, thank you, Geshe. Would you agree that all terms specific to Buddhist Dharma all have conceptual meaning in order to communicate and understand the specific non-conceptual idea, experience, and understanding? Yes, absolutely. You know, the word, the terms, the conceptions are the tools and mean to go beyond conceptions, go beyond words. But we need that at the very beginning, you know, even though the idea is to have a realization of emptiness, of non-duality, without word, direct experience. But at the very beginning, we need those terms, those words to be able to understand. Without those words and terms, it will be very difficult to understand. So first we have intellectual understanding through that terms, word, concepts, ideas. And then from intellectual understanding, we try to go to experiential understanding. But at the very beginning, even that experiential understanding is still very much dependent on the concepts, terms, you know, because we try to do analytical meditation. And when we do analytical meditation, we use concepts, ideas, thought, terms, example, all of that. But then slowly, as our experiential understanding get more stronger through the practice meditations, then, you know, you go beyond any more concept. You go beyond concept. You go beyond words. and then you have direct realizations, and so that is a method to reach there. Once we reach that, then there's not much use, except to be able to help others communicate, but not necessarily. So even though maybe it is not needed for ourselves, but of course the word and concept, still we need it to help others, to communicate with others, to understand. And therefore the words and concepts become important, even though we need to go beyond that in order to have a more deeper and profound understanding and realizations. Then would there be any Buddhist doctrine without words, idea, concepts? I don't know, the direct realization on emptiness is called inexpressible, masam jome, inconceivable, inexpressible. That is the direct realization of emptiness and non-duality understanding of emptiness. And so that one, I don't know whether can we say that as a Buddhist doctrine, that one. I am not sure whether we can call that a Buddhist doctrine, that direct realization of emptiness, which is inexpressible by the words, inconceivable by the concepts, that direct experience. And that is what we want to achieve, that direct experience of emptiness, so that then that can become really, really very strong antidote towards the delusions, all the distracted emotions. But I don't know whether we can call that as a doctrine or not. The term, I don't know whether you would use that. I'm not sure. What do you think? Anyone has any idea? Can we call that a doctrine? Yeah.
I think then it's another concept.
Yeah, that is also that is another. Yeah, that too. That is similar, like Nagarjuna making argument with or some others where they says some says that we have no belief, and then saying that you don't have belief, it is a belief. It is a belief, saying that I don't believe in anything, that itself is a belief. or there is another, of course that is not in the Nagarjuna ones, this is something, but there is a saying, Rangluk me, there is no position of the self, and saying that there is no position of self is a position. And so I guess maybe all this comes similar, I guess. So anyway, because we are playing with the word at the moment, whatever we say, whether it's doctrine or not doctrine, or we are still playing with the word, so it all become that, I guess. But once we all are able to go beyond that, maybe we might be able to describe that without word. But maybe at the moment it is so when I try to describe it as a word, I think it become another concept, another idea itself. Okay. Yeah, I guess that is all kind of I can kind of comment. If any other one has any ideas to comment, to share, to contribute, that can be helpful.
Geshe, I had a question, but I don't know
please.
if we have time. I'm still getting hung up on the emptiness of the mind itself. If we look at the mind as a series of moments, like dependent on parts, that makes sense. Dependent on causes and conditions, that somewhat makes sense in terms of the cause being the previous moment of mind. In terms of being a mere imputation is a little difficult, and also in terms of the non-inherent characteristic of the clarity and awareness of mind, that's also difficult. So that's the part that I'm having a lot of trouble with. I'm wondering if you could offer any clarity on that.
I think if you say the clarity and awareness, having a difficulty with that being a non-inherent existence. And I think the reason why we struggle that is because it always seems that clarity and awareness, every moment is that same clarity, is the moment of clarity and awareness. But while it's still awareness and still clarity, but still is momently changing. It's like running of the water. It's still water, but each moment is changing, you know? And so even though there is that nature of clarity is still there, continuity is there, the nature of awareness, continuity is there, but then that awareness sometimes being polluted, sometimes not being polluted, sometimes being less polluted, sometimes being less unpolluted by other factors, and that maybe not in its nature, but by factors in that. So it's still that has been sometimes is being less polluted, sometimes more polluted, and all of that. So it keep on, in that sense, it is changing. And since it's changing in that way, it can't be inherently, because something that is inherent, it can't be changing, you know, something inherent, it will be static, can't be changed. And since it is changing, even though it is same, even though there is a nature of clarity and awareness, but still that is changing. It's just like the water. The nature of water is still there, but maybe when the rivers comes, maybe that water become more clear. Another place it become more murky. In some place is drinkable. Another place is undrinkable. But it's the same continuity of that same water, but it's keep on changing. And so therefore, it can't be inherently. If it's something inherently, then it will not be changing. You know, if it is drinkable from the very beginning source, then it will keep on being drinkable. If it's clear and muddy, then it will be keep on, or is muddy, it will become so. And so therefore, I think maybe, I don't know whether does that help? I don't know whether that.
That definitely helps on the level of seeing the impermanence and therefore saying it can't be inherently existent. I guess the follow-up question is the nature of it being clear and aware, how is that only conventionally existent but not ultimately existent?
Well, just because its nature of that is clear and awareness, then that doesn't mean ultimately the nature of all these phenomena is impermanent, but that doesn't mean they are inherently existent, you know, because when we talk about nature, we can talk about conventional nature and ultimate nature. And when we talk about the nature of the mind being clarity and awareness, we are talking conventional nature of the mind. We are not talking about ultimate nature of the mind. If you try to find the ultimate nature of the mind, where is that clarity? What is that clarity? What is that awareness? Even that, when you break into that, then it is not there. Even it's depending on parts. Even that clarity of that particular mind, even that nature is depending on many parts that make that clarity. It is many parts that make that awareness as an awareness. And so therefore, again, so normally when we say the nature of the mind is clarity and awareness, we are talking from the conventional point of view, the conventional nature of the mind. But if you go beyond that, and if you try to find ultimate nature of that, then, you know, you go beyond that, you know. So even that even that if you try to find, locate, even that the nature of the clarity or awareness, even that you cannot pinpoint within each of the momentary parts that make that awareness, you know, because if we say awareness, any part of consciousness that is awareness or knowing, it means it has the ability, any mind, it needs to have object, you know, and for the mind, that awareness or knowing part to have an object, and there's many moments in that. And so that many moments make that awareness or that knowing. If you break into those moments, then each of those moments cannot be aware of that objects. The eye consciousness, which is being aware of the cup, is made of so many moments of that. And each of those moments that makes that eye consciousness, each of those moments cannot be aware of the cup, but many moments coming together, then it has that ability to be aware of the cup and to be able to conceive the cup or the glass.
Thank you.
Did that satisfy your mind, or you are still not so sure?
I am sure I'm still confused to some extent, but it has lessened my confusion, and I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Geshe, I'm more confused now. So,
Yes.
so when you were explaining to Jennifer, would it be correct to say that the reason why consciousness does not have inherent existence, even the clear and knowing part of it, because that also is a designation I am making?
No. What I'm saying is, even that is made of many moments. Even the consciousness itself, I'm just giving one example of particular consciousness. The eye awareness that is conceiving the glass, okay? That consciousness is made of many, many moments. And each of those moments is not the eye consciousness that is conceiving the glass, because each of those moments cannot conceive by itself without depending on other moments, cannot conceive the glass. Only through by depending on many other moments together, then they can conceive the eye consciousness can conceive the glass. And so therefore, each of those moments are not eye consciousness that is conceiving the glass. And therefore, the eye consciousness that is conceiving the glass is made of many moments of that. And so therefore is not inherently existent, because it is not, therefore is interdependent and not independent existence.
I agree with you, and that's a very clear example, Geshe, but I was also thinking, I thought that what Jennifer was talking about was more like when you're talking about very subtle mind, where very subtle mind is just clear and knowing, like at that level.
But even more subtle mind, when we talk about the nature being clear mind, still we are talking about conception, conventional, from the conventional point of view, you know. So again, for example, and in that is similar to the example that I give, the example of the water, you know, the nature of water. There is the nature of water's clarity, and that clarity is there from the source to the very last, where until it goes to the ocean and wherever it goes. While that clarity nature of the water is there, at the same time the water keep on changing due to many other causes and conditions. sometimes it's drinkable, as I mentioned, not drinkable, sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's more muddy and all of different things. And that just shows that it's changing. Because it is changing, therefore it can't be inherent existence. And same with our clear light mind, you know, depending on individual. Sometimes our clear light mind is less diluted, sometimes it's more diluted, even though there is that clarity nature in that. There is that clarity in nature, but still that mind can be diluted and obscure and less obscure and more obscure or less obscure, more diluted, more undiluted. And so therefore, again, it can't be inherent existence, you know?
Yeah, I guess I was thinking of some presentations of mind where they say that, you know, that very subtle mind is like a crystal, you know, it things come and go, but the mind itself is never defiled.
It is not defiled in its nature, but it's still defiled. The example giving is not defiled in its nature, that clarity part, but still is defiled. And so it can be defiled, even that what do you call clear light mind. And that is why we're in samsara, whereas Buddha's beyond the samsara. So it is not defiled in its nature, just like the clarity of the water. Even the mud is not kind of defiled in its nature, but still the water, we call water is diluted, water is being polluted. Same way the mind has been polluted, even though it might not be polluted in nature. So since it's being polluted, then that mind has been changed and been polluted. Even it means temporary, you know, even it's temporarily polluted, still is polluted. And so sometimes it's more polluted, sometimes less polluted. And from being polluted, it becomes non-polluted, completely non-polluted. And so therefore that can be changed. And therefore that is why it's not inherently existent, because that can be changed. If it's something, if it is inherently existent, then yeah, then it can't be sometimes being polluted, sometimes not being polluted, sometimes being, so that can't be.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
If Geshe-la, if the mind is if it in the clear light nature of the mind, or even say the mind of the Buddha, then the mind is of not of conventional nature, but of ultimate nature, or is that also of conventional nature because many things, different things appear to it, so it keeps changing? So of the Buddha, which is
yeah.
it? Is it?
Yeah, Buddha's mind is also, when we talk about Buddha's mind, is also conventional. We are talking about conventional. Of course, Buddha relies both ultimate and conventional reality together with his mind. But definitely Buddha's mind can change because, for example, before there is, let's say, no iPhone 12. Now, because iPhone 12, so there is a new awareness of Buddha's mind, which is being aware of that, which was not there before because the object was not there.
Yeah.
Because there is, the object is not there, then there is no mind that precedes that. And so new objects are created, and also there is a Buddha's awareness of mind that precedes that new object that has been created. And in that sense, then you can say it is changing, and definitely, you know, it's momentarily moving, and therefore momentarily changing, you know. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think, you know, the consciousness, whether consciousness inherently exists or not, that has always been difficult. That is why mind-only school, while they reject truly existing external object, but they think the mind is truly existence, you know, and that is why, of course, some other schools, some other Buddhist schools, so Tantrika, Babasika, they think they believe that external objects as well as the mind is inherently existence or truly existence, and then mind all these schools refute the external object being truly existent, and they refute that, but they still believe that the mind is inherently and truly existence. And then Madhyamika even refute that of that concept, that view. And so with that, we know that mind has always been more difficult than the external objects of that. Okay. Okay, we will do the dedications. May all beings everywhere, plagued by the suffering of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtues of my merit. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drink. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvest. May all medicine be effective and wholesome prayer bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be free from all their ailments. Whatever disease they are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time, your patience. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you so much, Geshe-la.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Geshe-la.
Good night.
Thank you.
And we really hope that
Geshe, Geshe Sherab.
Tujie, will be able to fix the problem in coming days. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
so much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Happy
Thank
Diwali,
you.
Geshe-la.
Thank you. When is Diwali? Today or tomorrow?
Today is the eve for the north. In the south, today is Diwali, but for us, tomorrow is Diwali.
Okay.
Happy
of light.
Diwali, Sneh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Geshe-la, yeah.